Sounds like you're pretty much a quick start. Is that right?
I invested in Dirty Dough. I thought he told me he was in a commercial kitchen. I'd fly out there months later and I go to his apartment and I'm like, what are we doing here? He's like, this is where we do cookies from. I'm like, what?
When you're driven, the need to accomplish a goal is relentless. Hard work and ambition compel you to do whatever's necessary. In my work as a personal injury trial lawyer for 18 years, it's common to meet driven people. Those with drive can have different personalities, careers, or backgrounds, but they possess one common factor. Despite their passions, driven people want to surround and motivate themselves with other driven people. If you want to learn how to overcome obstacles by learning from others, then tune in here. This is the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into episode 78 of the Driven Crowd Podcast, fueled by Snellings Law. I'm your host, Scott Snellings. Today, I'm joined by Bennett Maxwell. Bennett is a seasoned entrepreneur specializing in franchise development, notably scaling Dirty Dough, a cookie company, from single location to nearly 100 stores and 450 sold franchises within 3 years. After selling Dirty Dough to crave-worthy brands, Bennett founded Franchise KI, a brokerage offering tailored franchise opportunities, including glow tanning, of which he's also a franchisee, and cookie cutters. His approach emphasizes strategic knowledge and intelligent application to unlock franchising success. Bennett, welcome to the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Scott, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to the beginning. Tell us kind of where you grew up and how you first ventured into your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I grew up in Orem, Utah. I was 7 of 9 kids. So I think entrepreneurship started definitely elementary, probably first grade. I was selling candy bars with my brothers until we got kicked out. Then we did snow cones, on the corner of the street. We did lemonade stands, snow shovels, door to door. It's kind of whatever, like if you want to go pay for your sports and football camp, go figure that out. So that was a huge blessing, especially because I lived in a nice neighborhood that bought everything, probably because they felt bad for me and it gave me that confidence. That led to Cutco knives right after I graduated, which taught me referral-based selling, which was like the number one thing that I used when I raised through Dirty Dough. I raised $9 million over the 2 years with no experience, and it was Cutco experience that really gave it to me. Referrals. That led me to a 2-year Mormon mission in Tijuana, Mexico, which is door knocking, referrals, sales-based. Really good sales training. Came back from that and I got into the door-to-door world. All the largest door-to-door companies in the world are here in Orem, Provo, Utah because of the former, because all of the Mormon missionaries, I guess. I did pest control. After I did pest control, I dropped out of college. I was doing pre-med, only semester left, but I made a lot of money as a 23-year-old knocking doors in 5 months. I made $250,000 and I'm like, this is a cheat code. If I could learn how to communicate and be a professional communicator, that's going to be more advantageous than kind of anything else. So I set my target on, I want to be a professional communicator. And in order to do that, I felt like it would be better to switch companies and switch industries every year so I could learn from new leadership, new people. Yeah, there's a larger learning curve, but I think it played out well. I did pest for a year, satellite and internet for a year, smart home like security automations for a year, solar for a year, started a solar company, 18 months, sold that. And in that time, I had purchased Dirty Dough as well. So that kind of led, I guess, to the bio. Did Dirty Dough for about 3 years. Yeah, sold 450, opened up 100 locations, and sold that to a restaurant group out of Chicago called Crave-Worthy Brands. And then now it's, okay, let me go back to what I like to do and what I think I'm the best at, which is the sales process. Dirty Dough is building a company and selling at the same time, where now it's, I want to just find the top 1% of the top 1% of the franchises out there and just offer those that offer 3-year paybacks and, all of those other things. So it's been going really well. I know that was a long intro.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic. Whenever you're trying to do both, build a business and be really good on the sales side, there's no way to be great at both, I think, right? Because they're pretty different skill sets. And to really do fantastic things, it feels like you kind of have to hone in on one of them. So going back to kind of your roots of door-to-door sales, when you first started, were your brothers helping you out saying, hey, no, when you go up to the door, say this or say that? Or were you just completely figuring it out as you went?
I mean, they have really good training manuals. So I actually wanted to do sales, but I was going out with some buddies and they're like, no, let's go do the installs instead. So we went out to Baltimore and we did security installs. So we would go sit in a mall parking lot, sometimes for 8 hours, waiting for somebody to make a sale. And then you'd go install it. If they didn't make a sale, you just drive back home. You spent your gas money, made $0.
Oh, no.
So that's how my summer was going. I called up a buddy in California and he goes, I was like, hey, how's it going? He's like, I've made 10 grand. And that was my goal for the summer. And this has only been 2 months. I was like, what? I was like, dude, I want to come out there. Like, is there space for me? Which obviously take anybody with a pulse. It's just commission sales. He's like, oh, I think I can make some room. Within 2 days, I left Baltimore, quit that job and drove to California and in a piece of a POS car that ended up breaking down on the way. But that's kind of like on the way there. I'm like, okay, here's the sales manual. I'm going to memorize all of the scripts. So I was driving and I would read it back to myself. So no on the outside help. When I dropped out and kind of pursued this, especially from my parents, it was kind of like, really, what the hell are you doing? But I think, fast forward 10 years, I guess it's been 10 years since I dropped out. I think it was the right decision. The culture in Utah is very, very big on entrepreneurship and sales, probably because of the Mormon background. So I got a lot of help and support just from friends and community on advice on, how to be an excellent communicator. I got really lucky with that.
And so moving halfway across the country on basically a couple days notice, sounds like you're pretty much a quick start. Is that right?
I invested in Dirty Dough. I thought he told me he was in a commercial kitchen. I fly out there months later and I go to his apartment. And I'm like, what are we doing here? He's like, this is where we do cookies from. I'm like, what? But same thing. And then, so that's how I got into Dirty Dough. And then a year after, I'm like, dude, let's franchise this. I'm in San Diego. That's where I was running my solar company. This was Crumble's #1 spot. They did 3.6 million in revenue out of a single store. Like, I'm your franchisee. Let's go. He said, I'm done. I want to sell it. I bought it within a few weeks. Again, only stepping foot into the store one time, I think. Because I listened to a podcast telling me you need to buy real estate and businesses. So that was the first kind of go. This is what when I was recruiting in pest control or whatever, I would get this feedback a lot. I'm just not a salesperson. And it's like, what does that mean?
Right.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not an attorney. Well, yeah, you're not until you become one, until you develop the skills. So that taught me to overcome that objection, really drove home in my mind. No, this is a learned skill. There's nothing that the top guy that makes $1 million a year knocking doors, there's nothing that he's doing with his voice, with his eyes, with his mouth, the way that he or she leans in or back or folds. All of that is learnable. So when I looked at buying Dirty Dough, same mindset. It's like, yeah, I don't know anything about cookies or restaurants or franchising, but what is the top guy doing that I can't learn or hire somebody? And I ended up hiring a 40-year vet as a CEO right when I franchised. She did the operations and I did the sales, because I agree with what you said earlier. Like, you can't run with both at the same time. At least I couldn't.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question is, if you bought Dirty Dough with the intention of franchising it, how on earth did you figure out how to franchise it? Because that is not easy whatsoever.
Cutco taught me, this is how you sell Cutco. You talk to your grandma and you say, Granny, I am saving up money. Just listen to my presentation. I get paid $20. You don't have to buy anything. That's it. Just listen to it. Okay. I give my presentation. Maybe she buys, maybe she doesn't. Then I say, who are 10 people that would help me out by just listening to the presentation? Write them down. And then she writes it down. They say, okay, cool. Now we're going to start with number 1 and we're going to call them. Once they answer, hand the phone to me. And I was doing that as an 18-year-old, So that kind of translates to a lot in when you're finding franchisees, when you're recruiting people, really everything. It's just like, how do you find the right people and then ask the people that you have for future referrals? So I built a really good advisory board based on that. I got a guy that had a company called InfoSpace. It IPO'd in 2000, $31 billion valuation. Then I said, okay, John, who do we get next? I don't know anything about advisory boards. He goes, Steve Hart. I sat on his board. He runs the largest property management franchisor in the world. Okay, cool. We got Steve. Now I got a business expert on my team. I got a franchise expert on my team. Okay, who's my third advisor? Asking every single one of my employees. One of my employees said, hey, I used to work For this lady, she founded Maui Wowie Smooths and Coffee. It was the first ever mobile concept in the world. It grew to 650 franchises before selling. She's awesome. So I called Jill. Jill, I'm looking for another advisor. And long story short, she's like, you need me to be the CEO of this. And I'm like, done. The story's the same. Like what I'm trying to get at is I got to all of those people, not because I knew them. I knew somebody who knew them, who knew them, who knew them. And it's that networking, referral, just give back, take, receive, without the expectations of dollars and cents, and it comes around. And for me, it's also a lot more enjoyable way of working and just kind of being friends and talking to everybody. Tell everybody what you're doing. Don't be afraid somebody's going to steal your idea. They're not. Your idea is not precious. It's the work that you put into it. And when I heard that advice, again, actually from my first advisor, John, tell everybody what you're doing, everything just starts exploding because everybody has an idea to add on to your idea, and then when two ideas clash, usually you learn something, more truth comes out of that. So doing that in a business setting, I think really propelled it because I was doing that for a year when I bought it up till I franchised it. Then right when I franchised it, we were selling like 20 franchises a month consistently for 2 years because I kind of built up the hype before.
All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper into networking. Networking's huge, and networking is one of those things that nobody really teaches you how to do, at least not in the schooling setting. And network is so amazingly big. As I've learned over my career, you can't have a significant enough network. So you mentioned something that I am a true believer in, and that is provide value. Don't go network looking for people who are going to buy your service, buy your product, whatever it is, but look to go into networking and provide value. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. It's a balance, and like I love it and then I hate it because a lot of times, depending on which group you go into, if you go and you own, a company with 50 restaurants, then everybody just wants to sell you crap. So you kind of also have to navigate like what's worth and what's not. Quick conversations like, hey, who are you? What are you doing? And then knowing more, I think is more important to be clear what I'm after. If they don't want help, trying to phrase this, like I don't want to force help on them. It's like, here, this is what I'm doing. And I think if I lead with like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm looking for. Do you know anybody? I don't have to ask them directly.
Yeah.
But it's very like to the point. And then I do think that gives them permission when I ask them like, okay, what about you? But I usually lead. It's like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm there. I'm Bennett. This is what I'm doing. Who are you? They give me a quick intro. And it's like, cool. My main focus is this. I'm looking for franchisees. What's your main focus? And you can kind of do that and then start exchanging numbers. And man, it's like, I just picked up another brand from a guy that I met 3 years ago that we talked here back and forth for the last 3 years. Then he's like, hey, can you connect with my buddy? And I'm like, sure, whatever, like I'm always willing to connect, but a little hesitant. Got on the phone with him. Turns out his franchise has a 2.4 year payback. That's definitely top 1%. I'm like, heck yeah, I would love to sell this for you. So sometimes, it takes 3 years for that to come around. But being very proactive in your approach and just like, I'm going to talk to everybody. I don't know what I'm doing. I have imposter syndrome. Everybody has imposter syndrome. So let's just throw that out the door. Right. And then let's just try anyway.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is just get over yourself first, right? Like as much as you hate being the one who is going and introducing yourself to somebody, the other people hate it too. You can be incredibly extroverted and still not be comfortable just going out and introducing yourself and building that network. And so, I think building that courage up to just take that first step. And
I mean,
go ahead.
It's a skill. Like it's not like you got it or you don't. And this is funny. Like I'm at the airport yesterday and what I'm focusing on is just making eye contact with people and smiling and just like acknowledging people and seeing if I could get a smile back because that's uncomfortable for me. It's uncomfortable for everybody. But the more you do it, just like the first door I knocked on, I was like gonna pee my pants. Now, 10,000 doors later, I would still get anxiety going up to it, but much less, right? And I know how to deal with it. So I think that's important. Kind of as I'll end it at that. I think that's important to keep in mind.
And I think too, one of the things that I always look for, whether I'm at like a chamber of commerce event or a bar association deal or whatever bigger event, because I'm not a big fan of the bigger events. I like more smaller groups, love one-on-ones. But I always look for the people who look really uncomfortable because they don't have anybody to talk to. And
That's good.
those are the ones that are super appreciative of you walking up, or you see them as you're talking to somebody else and you kind of wave them over and include them in your conversation. You talk about providing value. You are taking away them being uncomfortable. That is about as much value as you can provide to somebody who's uncomfortable in one of those situations.
Yeah. I mean, especially like usually you pay for those events and you're like hoping to get something out of it, but I'm kind of putting myself in that person's shoes, right? Like I'm there, I want to get something out of it, but I'm freaking nervous. If one person talks to me, then that's worth my money. And that gives me confidence now to go to the next one, you know? But yeah, I just, there's not that many people in the world that like networking. And I think that most people think like, I don't like it or I'm uncomfortable with it. So maybe it's just not my thing, but it's like, it's nobody's thing. It's nobody's thing until you learn it. And it's just such a learned skill that you have to throw out. Like, am I going to let the perceived thoughts of this room, because I don't even know what they're thinking, right? It's just what I perceive they're thinking of me. Am I going to let that control my behavior? And if I go meet somebody, if I grow my business, or if I don't, I try not to.
Yeah. And here's the answer to that. Nobody's thinking of you. Everybody's feeling what everybody else is thinking about them, right? 99% of the time, nobody's thinking about you. And so another thing that I think a lot of people miss on is they say, okay, I want to start networking. I'm going to sign up and I'm going to go to this event right here. And so they sign up and they get up the nerve and they walk in the door. They have no plan. They have no thought process of how they're going to approach it, who they're looking to meet, who may be there. And so to me, I think having a little bit of a game plan. I'm not talking about go research the guest list if you can find who all's RSVP'd yes on it. Not necessarily that, but have an idea as to who you want to meet or what kind of people you want to meet and what are you trying to accomplish. Hey, maybe your goal is to make one meaningful connection and then follow up with that person, right? That's the second step that a lot of people aren't very good at is following up. You meet a great connection at the event and then you never follow up again. Well, you just wasted your time. Right? Maybe that person remembers you down the road. Most likely they're not going to.
Yeah. One strategy that came to my mind as well, as far as remembering people and following up. One, you shouldn't be following up with people because you should be setting the appointment right there, right? It's like, oh, who do you know? I'm working on this. Okay, here's my restaurant equipment. I'm just going to shoot it to them right there. I'm going to do as much in the meeting kind of right there as possible. Then when I save their contact, I save it as Dominican Republic conference 2025, whatever. And I put, has a wife, dog, and lives in McKinney. Right. Yeah. And that helps me in like their business part. So in the future, you know, it's a lot easier to go find them. Another thing on being prepped, I would go to ChatGTP and say, I need a 30-second pitch and probably a 2-minute pitch on what you're trying to accomplish. This is Franchise Key. This is what I'm doing. This is Dirty Dough and I'm raising money. It's like Dirty Dough is very easy because I was always raising money. Like Dirty Dough, we have 300 franchises sold. 70 of them are open. We did 13 million in revenue. Is this something you or anyone you know would be interested in? And I think that's the key. So go in there with your elevator pitch and I would pay $20 a month to ChatGTP so you could do the voice to chat. And you're just saying, hey, I need an elevator pitch. This is what I do. Can you help me out? And then memorize it. Repeat it 50 times before you go in. And then it feels good. It just flows. And every time you do it, it feels better. If you have a little bit more time, you could say, okay, now I started vertically integrating. I opened my own facility to produce the dough. And now I have a dough manufacturing. We're talking to Walmart, you know, like then you have the next layer of intrigue points that you give them if you have a little bit more time. But I think the most beneficial skill set, and again, I'm going to come back to Cutco, is that question at the end. It's who do you know that could be interested in this? Or you always have to say, is it you, but who else? And people are so willing to help you, especially in a 5-minute conversation. If you told them all the mistakes you made in building a franchise or gave them a few contacts of a real estate broker, right? And then that they're very likely to reciprocate that.
Yeah, it's the reciprocity, right? I don't know if you've read Cialdini's Influence, but he talks about that, right? That's why as a lawyer, I'm not allowed to buy a juror a Coke. I'm not allowed to buy a juror lunch or do any kind of favors for jurors because then they might have that feeling of reciprocity and that might affect, you know, their impartiality. That's where that comes from. And we all have that feeling, right? And so when you do provide value to others, they tend to want to reciprocate that value. I don't think that's manipulative at all. I think it's just showing them, hey, here, I want to go out and provide value to you. If you return the favor, awesome. If not, no big deal. It's perfectly fine. So let me ask you this. In terms of building a franchise, because we have a lot of people here who are maybe really want to be business owners someday, but starting a business from scratch with your own ideas, that's hard, man. That's incredibly hard. Tell me what you've learned about franchising and sell me on buying a franchise as opposed to starting my own business.
Yeah. So franchising can be really good. Just like
it can be awful
if you pick the right one. So I think a big myth in franchising on the negative is like, I'm buying a business in a box, right? It's done for me. No, it's not. It's a business in a box. It's a playbook.
Right.
But you're the quarterback. So you still have to run all the plays. The difference is when your sales are low, you don't have to figure out a new marketing strategy. Typically, if you chose the right franchise, they have that figured out. When your employees quit and you have high turnover for 3 months in a row because your training sucks, you get help because they've already done that for 15 years, right? So I think that's a big myth. Like, it is your business. It is your baby. You have to do it. But the good thing is, like, this is why I bought Doortodoor. I would have never started a cookie company. I don't know how to come up with a name. I don't know how to come up with a brand. I don't know how to do that. But I could take something that already works and just give it a voice and amplify it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is really good at franchising. But again, franchising is so big. It's like, what does franchising really mean? You have to pick a business that goes with your skill set. So like, for me, I like more of the sales side. So maybe I'm going to go with a service-based business that I could start within 30, 60 days because I don't have to find a retail location. And I don't have to build one out. I don't have to sign a lease. The issue with that, though, is nobody knows I'm here. I have to go out and tell them, but I'm fine with that. Now, if you're an introvert, don't go buy a painting franchise that's sales-based, right?
Right.
But maybe if you're an introvert and you really like systems and processes, maybe you go with the glow tanning because that's systems and processes, 70% reoccurring revenue. So a lot of it is just being paired with the right one. So I don't want to say blanket statement, franchising is less likely to fail. If you choose the right franchise, yes. And how do you choose the right one? All of them will disclose how long they've been in business, how many franchises they have, how many they've closed, how many they're opening, and you're looking at all of those metrics. I look for a 3-year payback, whatever it cost me to get in, how much does it cost to open up, and can I get my money back in 3 years? I look for companies that have been around for at least 5 years. They have multiple franchisees that are willing to answer the phone and validate. So don't just jump into a franchise, like do the processes. But if you do it right, you shouldn't ever run into a problem that you have to fix by yourself. And that is awesome. You're just like, cool, what do I do next?
That is huge because as an entrepreneur myself, a large amount of time of mine is spent troubleshooting, problem solving, and figuring out how to get around kind of the newest issues, right? And I don't have the person that I can tap on the shoulder and say, hey, how do I do this? I say that I do have those in mastermind groups, but they haven't been running my law firm and they haven't had the exact same problems that I'm having right now with people or cases or whatever it may be. So what do you see in successful entrepreneurs versus those who, or I'm sorry, successful franchisees as opposed to those who they don't do well?
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of a dumb answer, but I ask this to every franchisor because I interview them all, and my sales process is all video based. So it's just log into a portal, watch a bunch of videos rather than talk to a salesperson. So I ask all of them same question, like, what makes a good franchisee? And every time it's the same answer. It's just somebody who follows the system. So I have tanning experience. I'm going to buy a tanning franchise, but I'm not going to use their system. Even though they've never closed a store in 15 years, I think my training is going to be better. And it's just like, if you think that your training is going to be better, don't buy the franchise, So it's just, are you going to follow the system or not? Jill, the lady that I hired as CEO, one of her questions in the interviews before approving a franchisee, I think it was always her last question. She would say, are you willing to do whatever it takes to make this succeed? And I would say that's the second answer to your questions. Like, are you a go-getter? Are you going to go figure it out? Or are you looking at it as completely passive? And if you are, it's probably not going to work out unless you pick just a perfect franchise that, allows you to be very passive. Usually you could be passive, but you have to work towards it. It'll take you 6 months to 18 months to learn your business inside and out, hire the management, oversee it. But you can't oversee your business properly unless you know what your business is. And to do that, you need to work all the positions, kind of the day-to-day, at least, here and there.
Well, and I would imagine, it's super easy to give the flippant answer of, I'll do whatever it takes to succeed. But you get 3 months in, the newness wears off and sales are terrible. You have hired poorly and you're working 13-hour days.
Yeah.
Okay. All of a sudden that answer changes a little bit. So you want your franchisees to succeed, right? You don't want to be bringing people to your franchises that are poor franchisees. So how do you dig a little deeper into that? Do these people really have the grit? What kind of questions do you ask to figure that out?
Yeah, that's more on the franchisor side. Because so what I do is I get a lead from Facebook or whatever, kind of cultivate that lead, and then hand it off, and then they do those final approvals.
Okay.
And you'll hear mixed answers, but I would say the truth is you try your best, but you'll always have people that you think aren't going to do good that crush it, and you have people that you think are going to crush it that suck. And then you look at, well, what's the difference? Well, the person who is doing better is they sponsored their kids' soccer team, and then they bring cookies that cost them $12 a week to get a huge box of cookies and exposure. You bring 12 cookies, you cut them to 4. You have 50 people trying your product. It costs you $12, and it costs you a few $100 to throw the logo on the back of the soccer team, right? I would say it's that extra effort, the community involvement. Those things make a big difference. And I think the community feels it as well. It's like, oh, cool, they're sponsoring this. I did, and I love that. As cookies, that was like my favorite part of owning cookies. Never once in 3 years did anybody ask me to sponsor their event with free cookies that I said no. Because even if it's like 1,000 people, it cost me $1,000, but I get exposure to 5,000 people, and 4,000 of them are going to actually put their product in my mouth. Like, you can't get cheaper advertising than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your point on the community marketing, right? Because I think people really want to have some sort of an affinity for the brands that they purchase from. And if you are marketing for the community, if you're showing like, hey, we are an asset to this community, we give back, we care what happens with kids' sports and education and all of the other things. We help other businesses around here by sponsoring their stuff. That goodwill goes so far. And it's fun to create too. I always say, like, community marketing is one of my favorite things to do. Whether it's a community focus group that we run to let people be jurors for a day, or the nonprofits that we help out, and we do service days once a month. Those kinds of things, they're fun. They're fun, and the payback is real because you're getting that reputation out to the community. You're developing that relationship, and to me, that is absolutely massive.
And I think a little bit onto that is you're going to get, unless you're really, really, really lucky, you're going to get your teeth kicked in, right? Like, it's going to suck, and you're going to want to quit. Even if you have a franchise that's making you 20 grand a month, you're still going to want to quit, because you're going to be like, the money, it's just, money is not what we're after. As humans, we're after an emotional state, and money isn't an emotional state, right? It's a physical object. And when you get into the community, you start reaping the benefits, the emotional benefits of being an entrepreneur. You're giving back, you're seeing smiling faces, and like, who doesn't like to help people, right? At the end of the day, like, we all like that. So if your business is attached to, I'm doing this to help people and it's fun, and then I make money, I think that's great. If it's, I'm doing this to make money and then I'm going to give back to the community to help me make more money, sure. But at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan, you're going to want to quit unless you feel like you're giving back and you have a deeper purpose. At least that was my experience. Yeah. I had to take my goal off of money because I realized any physical object is just that. It's a physical object. It's empty. I can't put a physical object inside of me, but yet all I want as a human is to feel a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our 10-year vision is based on number of people that we help, right? So there's no revenue goal attached to it. The more people we help, the better we do, obviously. But we want to focus on, hey, what are we actually doing here? We're actually helping people every time, we walk someone through the personal injury process, right? Our core focus is walking people through the personal injury process in a creative and caring way. And so when we do that, we can significantly impact people's lives in a positive way. We take them having just gone through something terrible, and we take the pressure off of them. We handle all of the things so that they can focus on just getting better. Right. And we do that in a way where we're constantly checking on them. We're making sure they have whatever they need. And that's our goal. And at the end of the day, we want to have a fantastic relationship, and we want them to be our clients for life. Hopefully they never get in another crash or injured in another way. But if they did, we'd want them coming back to us, and we want them sending their friends and family to us because they know that we take care of them. And I think you're 100% right. If all you're doing is focusing on money and numbers and revenue growth and all of those things, man, you're missing out on life. I am truly convinced that we were made to be relational beings, and we aren't fulfilled unless we are giving back and developing those relationships.
Absolutely. I think that if you heard about this Harvard study, I just forgot the name of it. They've been doing it for like 80 something years. It's the longest human study that's ever gone, and it's still going on. And they're studying all sorts of things. So they're following up every, handful of years or decade. The number one predictor of longevity, of how long you lived, was the closeness of your relationships. Can you believe that?
And
like,
it's just like
the longest study we ever have on humans, that's what it revealed, is you have to have relationships. Because again, like, you can interpret it different ways, but I think we could kind of relate it back to business is hard. Well, life is hard, right?
Yeah.
If business is hard and you don't have something better to fall back on for, which is, community or your relationships, or life is hard and you don't have those relationships to fall back on, it's like, what's the point of going forward? Your body deteriorates. You're not like, that's what actually kills you, because you're not excited to live. Where, you look at what brings you the most happiness. Most people will say your spouse or children, right? And it's those relationships. But for whatever reason, we're going to give up everything now to have potential relationships in the future when we could just have them today. And it's weird how our mind does that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the documentary Blue Zones, where they go to different areas around the world with the longest longevity. Yeah. And that's one of the things they found is it's those tight relationships, right? And not eating the standard American diet. But all right. So Bennett, we are almost out of time here. I got one last question for you. Give me, I don't know if you're a reader, but give me your top 3 books that you recommend or gift to others.
Yeah. One that let me think. Inner Engineering, I would say, is my most recent favorite book. It's by Sadhguru, a yogi guy. So Inner Engineering, the premise, not that I need to get into, but I'm going to. We as humans, we want to engineer everything, but we want to engineer everything on the outside. If we could engineer the external world to be perfect, then we won't have suffering, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, no, it's missing the point. You have to engineer the inside, and that's how you control your emotional state rather than the outside. So nothing to do with business. Sales, the one that came to mind, Sell or Be Sold, Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
A little bit extreme, but it really gets into like what sales is and how important it is, and to look at it and just like accept, I'm trying to sell you right now that sales are important. Like everything is a sell. I think that kind of drove that home really well. Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership.
Oh yeah.
I like that one as law. That came to my mind. Like everything comes back to it. You can never blame anybody else again. And that's actually very, very, very empowering, because there's never anything you can't do when you take responsibility for yourself. Because if it's your responsibility and it's on you, that means you have control to fix it.
Yeah, it's funny. One of our core values is taking ownership. And whenever I first started the firm and had zero business background, one of the very first books that was recommended to me was Extreme Ownership. And you're right. It's really hard to think of a more empowering book as a business owner than Extreme Ownership, because it takes that victim mentality completely away from you. Doesn't matter if you can control what happens, you can certainly control how you react to that thing. And many times you can control what happens. So, all right, Bennett. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your book recommendations there. And thank you for everyone who tuned in to this episode of the Driven Crowd podcast. We'll see you next time.